Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone.
Authorities in Orange County, California say that they have arrested a 38-year-old man this week after he allegedly stole a 60-foot yacht and led police on a short and destructive chase. According to reports, the incident began at around 10 a.m. on March 10th when residents in Newport Beach began to hear loud noises coming from the harbor. To their surprise, when they looked out to see what was going on, they witnessed an unknown man aboard a 60-foot yacht who was crashing into the boats docked there. As the suspect tried to maneuver the yacht, he repeatedly struck the dock and other vessels there several times, at one point destroying the mast of a sailboat. A woman inside the sailboat could reportedly be heard screaming. Though police were quick to arrive at the scene and try to stop the suspect in their own boat, he was able to push past, continuing his reckless joyride. The suspect was finally forced to stop a few minutes later when he collided with a seawall near Lido Bridge, however, not before he crashed into at least one other boat, causing significant damage. Once the yacht was stuck, police were able to board it and place the suspect under arrest. He was subsequently identified as 38-year-old Joel Siam from San Diego. According to reports, police were already looking for Siam at the time he stole the yacht. They had initially been called to the area after receiving reports about vandalized vehicles nearby. The yacht was an easy target for Siam to steal because it had been docked for maintenance, meaning the keys were inside when he got on board. At the time of this recording, Siam has been charged with grand theft of a boat and possession of a stolen boat and remains in custody on $3 million bail. The conditions of those aboard the boats that Siam struck is not clear, though reports allege that at least one person was injured.
A 47-year-old trooper from the Florida Highway Patrol is being called a hero this week after she put herself in harm's way in order to stop a suspected drunk driver from crashing into participants in a local charity event. According to reports, the incident began on the morning of March 6th when runners were in the midst of the Skyway 10K marathon event. For those unfamiliar, the race is held semi-annually and, according to their website, is done to benefit the Armed Forces Families Foundation. The event takes place on the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, which connects the city of St. Petersburg to Manatee County, and generally attracts thousands of participants and volunteers. At around 8:45 a.m. that morning, members of the Florida Highway Patrol received word that a driver in a BMW, subsequently identified as 52-year-old Kristen Watts, was speeding northbound on Interstate 275 towards the direction of the Skyway 10K. When Watts reached the road closure at Highway 41, advising her that the Skyway Bridge was closed and pointing her towards a detour, she ignored it, continuing to drive towards the bridge. From here, Watts allegedly proceeded to blow past several additional checkpoints, going around barricades and traffic cones and maneuvering past police officers while still driving at high speeds. Eventually, she even managed to drive past officers guarding the toll plaza. At this point, additional troopers in the southwest area of the race were alerted to an oncoming vehicle. One of the people who received this call was 47-year-old Master Trooper Tony Schuck, a 26-year-old veteran of Florida law enforcement. Deciding there was no time to waste, Schuck allegedly sprang into action, driving her Highway Patrol SUV in the direction of Watts' BMW. When Schuck saw Watts, she blocked the road with her vehicle, placing herself directly in harm's way. Watts still did not stop, leading to a serious head-on collision. Though both women received serious injuries as a result of the crash, Schuck's maneuver successfully brought the situation to an end. According to reports, Watts was arrested following the crash, where it was quickly suspected that she was under the influence of alcohol. Watts is now facing several charges, including DUI causing serious injury, DUI causing property damage, and 2 counts of reckless driving involving injury and property damage. While authorities say that they do not believe that Watts was intentionally trying to drive into the charity marathon, if her first court appearance is any indication, it doesn't seem that she is exactly remorseful for her alleged actions either. During the proceedings, she laughed when asked if she would have trouble making it to further court appearances, saying, quote, "Considering I don't have a car, I'll have to fix that, I guess." At the time of this recording, Schuck is at home recovering from a concussion and a head wound, but thankfully appears to be otherwise okay.
Authorities in Washington, D.C. say that they're looking for a suspect or suspects behind the killing of a 33-year-old doctor this week after he was struck with his own vehicle during a brazen carjacking. According to reports, the incident began at around 8 p.m. on March 8th when Dr. Rakesh Patel arrived at his girlfriend's residence in D.C.'s Northwest neighborhood. The 33-year-old had a package that he wanted to drop off for her and, as usual, was driving his dark silver Mercedes E350 sedan. As Patel stepped out of the vehicle to give his girlfriend the package, he left his car running, likely believing that he would only be gone for a moment or two. Unfortunately, as the couple were standing on the curb nearby, at least one suspect jumped into the Mercedes and took off. In a bid to stop the thieves, Patel chased after his car, managing to momentarily catch up. However, when he did, he was struck by those inside as they fled. By the time emergency responders arrived at the scene, Patel was dead. Patel's tragic and brazen killing is being mourned not just by his friends and family, but by many others in the broader medical community. The 33-year-old was a medical intensive care unit fellow at MedStar Washington Hospital Center and has been described as a talented and exceptionally passionate doctor. The day after Patel was killed, police were able to recover his vehicle, which was found abandoned roughly 5 miles away from where it had been stolen. Soon after, they released surveillance video of 2 passengers exiting the Mercedes. Both are now persons of interest in the case. According to reports, additional footage was also captured that is believed to be connected to the case. The footage allegedly shows 4 men walking down the same street where the Mercedes was found carrying cleaning supplies. Witnesses observed a group of people believed to be these men pouring bleach into the vehicle. At the time of this recording, no arrests have been made in connection with the case. Anyone with information about the crime is encouraged to reach out to the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department.
Authorities in Chester County, Pennsylvania say that a man and woman are facing charges this week after they allegedly hid inside a local Target store after hours as part of a stunt for their YouTube channel. According to reports, the whole thing began at around 3 a.m. on February 21st, when West Whiteland Township Police were alerted to a potential burglary in process at a Target store in the community of Exton. When officers arrived at the scene, they conducted a search of the building but could not find anything, and eventually went on their way. The situation seemed like a possible false alarm until the next day, when Target employees reviewed the building's surveillance footage from the morning of the incident and discovered something strange: an unknown man and woman walking around the store for several hours with their phones out. Ironically, it was the fact that the 2 suspects apparently hadn't stolen anything that led to a larger investigation, as police struggled to figure out what it was the man and woman had been doing inside the store. The truth was revealed soon enough, when the 2 were identified as 25-year-old Johnson LaRose and 24-year-old Charlotte Fisher, otherwise known as Saucy and Honey to their nearly 18,000 subscribers on YouTube. The couple had been filming a so-called challenge video for their channel. The video in question was a 24-hour overnight challenge in Target, during which LaRose and Fisher would, you guessed it, try and spend 24 hours in the store without being discovered by employees. In order to do this, they apparently built a fort somewhere in the Target during store hours that they subsequently hid behind when it closed for the night. All of it was allegedly captured on the store's surveillance cameras. Funnily enough, according to police, the Target surveillance footage didn't just prove that LaRose and Fisher had been trespassing. It also reportedly showed that they had lied to their subscribers about their challenge. Though they claimed to have stayed in the store all night in their video, cameras from the store captured them leaving at 3 a.m. In fact, this is what had triggered the alarm that initially alerted police about a potential burglary. Sure enough, the couple were caught by more of the store's cameras returning to the Target at around 8 a.m. that morning to get the rest of the footage they needed for their YouTube video. LaRose and Fisher are now each facing charges of third-degree criminal trespassing and conspiracy. They have since been released on bail. However, if convicted, they could reportedly be looking at a maximum sentence of up to 7 years.
Authorities in Des Moines, Iowa say that 1 teenager is dead this week and 2 others seriously injured following a brazen daylight drive-by shooting outside of a local high school. The incident took place just before 3 p.m. on March 7th, as suspects in several vehicles were circling the block outside of Des Moines East High School. When they spotted 15-year-old Jose Lopez at the front of the school, they drove by and began to shoot, killing him in a hail of gunfire. 2 other victims were also hit during the attack, identified only as 2 female students at the school who are 17 and 18 years old. According to reports, there were multiple shooters in the vehicles, and nearly 4 dozen rounds were fired. Within hours, police were able to track down and arrest all 6 of the suspects in the shooting, who reportedly range in age from 14 to 17 years old. They have subsequently been identified as Octavio Lopez, Henry Valadares Amaya, Nyang Chomdual, Manuel Buezo, Romero Perdomo, and Alex Perdomo. All of them are now facing charges of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. At the time of this recording, police say that they believe the shooting was related to gang activity and that the 15-year-old victim was the only intended target of the attack. The 2 female victims reportedly remain in the hospital, where one is in critical condition and the other is in serious condition.
Representatives from Florida's Hernando County Sheriff's Office say that they have arrested and charged a local man this week after he allegedly called 911 to ask that his meth be tested for authenticity. According to reports, the incident began at around 7 p.m. on March 10th, when officers were alerted to a 911 call from a residence in the community of Spring Hill. Upon arrival, they were greeted by a man named Thomas Eugene Colucci, who admitted to being the one who had placed the call. Colucci explained to the officers that he had contacted them after recently purchasing 2 baggies of methamphetamine from a man he had met at a local bar, saying that he had used a bit of it but believed that it was fake. He assured the officers that he was an experienced drug user who had used meth many times before and that he knew what it should feel like. He then allegedly proceeded to pull out the 2 baggies in question, saying that he believed they were bath salts and that he didn't want anyone else to purchase the, quote, fake meth. He also said that he wanted the police to get the guy who sold him the drugs in trouble. However, he was unable to provide a name or any contact information. When the officers tested the white crystalline substance in the 2 bags, they had good and bad news for Colucci. The good news was that he hadn't been ripped off, as both bags were found to contain meth. The bad news was that he was now under arrest for possession of illegal drugs. Following Colucci's arrest, he was taken to the Hernando County Detention Center, where he was charged with possession of methamphetamine as well as 2 counts of possession of drug paraphernalia. The next day, the Hernando County Sheriff's Office released a post on Facebook detailing the incident, jokingly ending it by saying, quote, "If you or someone you know have doubts about the authenticity of any illegal narcotics you have on hand or have obtained from another person, the Hernando County Sheriff's Office is pleased to provide this service free of charge."
Authorities in Grant County, Washington say that they have arrested and charged the ex-boyfriend of a missing 30-year-old woman this week, several days after she disappeared following a night out with friends. According to reports, 30-year-old Yanira Cedillos was reported missing on March 4th by family members when she failed to show up for work. The previous night, she'd been out at a local casino with friends celebrating her birthday. When police began to investigate Yanira's disappearance, they learned that the night of celebration had ended on a sour note, with the 30-year-old splitting up from her friends in the parking lot of a bar following an argument. A short time later, she called another friend and asked to be picked up nearby. However, when they arrived, they were unable to locate her. The friend called Yanira, but was unable to reach her. When Yanira called back, the friend could hear a male voice in the background yelling and demanding to know who was on the phone before the call disconnected. Yanira called back one more time a moment later, telling the friend that she was fine. After that, no one saw or heard from Yanira again. Further investigation revealed that during Yanira's birthday celebration, she had been repeatedly texted, called, and messaged on social media by her ex-boyfriend, 27-year-old Juan Gastelum. He had demanded to know where she was and who she was with. Based on this evidence, police did a little more digging into Gastelum's activities on March 3rd and were able to determine that he had picked up Yanira after she had split up with her friends. They also obtained additional evidence showing that he had driven her back to her home at the Heron Creek Apartments in Moses Lake. Evidence found inside the apartment led them to believe that within minutes of arriving at the apartment, Yanira was murdered. Several hours later, Gastelum was caught on video cleaning out his car and disposing of several items at a nearby gas station. Though it appears that police initially avoided arresting Gastelum, hoping that he would lead them to Yanira's body, a warrant was issued for him after a few days and he was taken into custody by police in the city of Pendleton, Oregon on March 9th. He's now facing several charges, including second-degree murder in connection with Yanira's disappearance. At the time of this recording, police are still searching for the 30-year-old woman's remains.
Authorities in Ogle County, Illinois say that a 34-year-old man has been indicted on multiple charges this week after he was accused of the 2020 murder of his pregnant girlfriend. According to reports, the investigation began back on November 25, 2020, when a fire erupted at the home of 27-year-old Melissa Lamesh. When emergency responders arrived at the scene, they discovered the pregnant woman unresponsive on her kitchen floor. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Tragically, the incident took place just days before she was supposed to give birth to her first son. Initially, the fire was believed to be a freak accident, and it was thought that Melissa had died as a result of smoke inhalation. However, as investigators dug deeper, they reportedly started to uncover evidence pointing to a more sinister explanation. Melissa had been murdered. While few details have been released about what led investigators to this conclusion, what we do know is that they now believe that she was strangled to death before her home was deliberately set on fire to cover up the crime. We also know the name of the suspected culprit, 34-year-old Matthew Plody. At the time of the murder, Plody was Melissa's boyfriend, as well as the soon-to-be father of her unborn child. This week, Plody was indicted on numerous charges in connection with the crime, including 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of premeditated first-degree murder, intentional homicide of an unborn child, residential arson, aggravated domestic battery, and concealment of a homicidal death. Plody was arrested without incident on March 9th and remains in custody on a $10 million bond. That's it for this edition of Crimes of the Week. If you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest releases. Thank you for watching.